Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I'm on my porch, nearly the first day of summer here in the Bay Area, which means I have to wear a jacket. It's cold here. Listen, I want to talk a little bit about whenever I sit down to do these porch talks, I think of my own teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, and his admonishment, be your own theorist. And I think at the heart of what I'm doing here on this channel and what you do when you join us here is an acknowledgement in yourself and just as a group for us all that there's value in your unique voice and your special outlook that you have on music. Be your own theorist. Wiggins said that I don't know how many times, and he exemplified it in his own life as well. There are a few components to what he said all the time that are worth keeping in mind for every musician, and I mention it to all of my students, and I'm going to say it again here today, and you've probably heard me talk about this before. But let's say you're a creative musician and you want to nurture your voice. Think of what you're doing in a few different steps, and these are the steps. First of all music is at some level kinesthetic. It's embodied. I'm in this world, in this body. It's how I am in the world. And because I'm a pianist, these are important to me. The kinesthetics of your instrument or of your studio, they're really crucial. So we have to work on our kinesthetics. And there's lots of ways to do that. If you're a classical musician, there's really just kind of like things to do, right? And you know all about the exercises that you might do. And maybe it's just about learning tunes for you if you're a pop musician. That's great. But you want to be able to play because music is an embodiment as much as anything else. In the same way that dance relies on space and time, music relies on sort of moving air, and you got to move the air somehow, right? That's the kinesthetics. It's movement, it's action, it's energy embodied in time. But there's two other components besides kinesthetics. There's what Roland called syntax. And syntax is just the structural grammar of your music. Rich, thick classical chords or jazz chords or simple triads. Pulsing rhythms or complicated polyrhythms. All these things, musical idioms that may be just rooted in cultural experiences. Like could be folk music, it could be anything. That's musical syntax. It's the language of what you do. And sometimes it feels a little bit cliched. But the crucial thing about syntax, Roland taught this, was make those idioms, make that syntax your own. There's a famous story of John Coltrane, the great tenor jazz sax player, after he recorded Love Supreme, calling up Roland, and Yusef Lateef had introduced the two of them, and Coltrane was complaining to Roland, listen, I'm playing these things which sound like just really common idioms to me, and Roland was able to say, John, you made those your own. Make that syntax your own. And how do you do that? Well, Roland's other component was what he called semantics. And of course, semantics is meaning. Music has meaning. It has mood. It has intent. What do I convey in my music? Kinesthetically, I'm doing this. Syntactically, I'm using this language. Semantically, I'm conveying this feeling. Those three components. But if you're a creative musician, you're not really going to be satisfied with just being able to check those boxes. Individual artistry arises from a number of things. And one of the most important things that it can arise from is the rigorous application of your theoretical thinking. And theoretical thinking can be grounded in a lot of different things, but one of the most important things that Roland taught was logic. Logic attempts to encompass everything. It says this and not this. And having a theoretical foundation for not this is a very important sort of set for us as musicians, because we need to know what we will never do. We need to know what we must do. We also need to know what's permitted. And this kind of logic is called deontic logic. Deontic logic. And it's worth looking up because it posits three kind of like categories of activity or actions. What's permitted, what's forbidden, and what's obligatory. Great artists have a very clear sense of what they'll never do, what they have to do, and of what they can do. And you can look at all your favorite artists through that lens and begin to tease out those components. It's really a fascinating study. In order to find that path for yourself, you must become your own theorist. Music theory is observational, not prescriptive. It's not a set of rules of things you have to do. It's an observation of behaviors. Observe yourself. Observe the music you're making. Observe your reactions to other people's music. Make a note of what works for you and what doesn't. Make a note of what you will always want to do, what you will never do, and what you could do if you wished. Kinesthetics, what I can and can't do, kind of goes into that pile, doesn't it? What do I have to practice so that I can do the thing I must do? What do I have to practice so I can do the thing I must do? This is where theory and thinking about what you're doing as a musician turns into day-to-day action. It's not a thing that happens overnight. Thinking about it is an ongoing process. I've been at this for decades, and I'm still energized by the possibilities that the way of looking at music, this way of looking at music, provides me. Kinesthetics, syntax, what musical grammar am I going to use as an expressive tool? Semantics, what does it mean? Deontic logic, what must I do? What will I never do? What am I permitted to do? I'm grateful for my teachers. I'm grateful for you. Let me know what you think. Listen, like and subscribe to the channel. Ding the bell and you'll be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you next time.